Welcome to the Married People Podcast, where we help you make marriage real, fun, and simple. Each week, we have honest conversations about one simple thing that can make your marriage better. Because when your marriage is better, everything's better. I'm CJ, and this week on the Married People Podcast, we're talking about the question, how can my marriage recover from a miscarriage? Now, a miscarriage is something that so many couples experience and walk through, and it's obviously not an easy road. And that's why I'm so grateful for today's conversation between Ted Lowe and Maina Mwaura. Now, Maina Mwaura is an author, a writer, a speaker, and a freelance journalist who interviews key leaders and speakers across the country. Now, Maina is a graduate from Liberty University, and he also has his Master's of Divinity from New Orleans Theological Seminary. Maina also helps spearhead the North American Mission Board and International Mission Board initiatives to mobilize African American studies on missions. Now, currently, Maina lives in Kennesaw, Georgia with his wife, Tiffany, and daughter, Zion. And in addition to all this, Maina and his wife, Tiffany, have walked through a miscarriage themselves and have learned a lot along the way. And that's why I'm so excited to get into this interview between Ted and Maina as they talk about what it looks like to recover from a miscarriage.
Hey, today I'm here with my new friend, Maina. Maina, how are you, buddy?
Doing good. It's good to be here with you guys.
I know. We just were talking before we started here that we got to a little role reversal today.
It's weird being on this side, Ted, just because the last time I was here interviewing you, man, which was a great interview, by the way, I was on the other side asking you all the questions, so I'm a little concerned with what questions you're going to ask, but it'll be good.
Well, Maina, I know you're a speaker, you're a writer, author. You're also an interviewer. Like, when I look at the people you have interviewed, I'm a little amazed, and I wondered what happened to your platform when you went from Jimmy Carter to me.
Yes. That's kind of weird.
I felt kind of sad for you. I was like, man, things have turned for Maina. Things aren't going so good. So, well...
Yours was a better interview, though, than him. I'll make that clear. Former president's great. Don't get me wrong, but that was a little bit more uptight.
Okay, tell us, I want to know, how in the world do you get to interview Jimmy Carter?
Oh, my gosh, Ted, this is a great question. I would tell anyone out there that's wondering, okay, how can life change around, turn around in a 180 type deal? Does it happen? And it can. And I think it does happen, of course, when you're with a great wife. So to make that clear, Tiffany is the one who's my wife, by the way, who's allowed all this to happen. 2 years ago, I would say I fell into this. And so it was one of those deals where I was involved in local church on staff, loving it, having a great experience. And all of a sudden, Ted, I got this call out of nowhere going, hey, do you want to come write for us? It was Christianity Day. They were starting their new pastor blog type site. And I said, I think I can do that, although I'd never done it before. But when you have a great wife, though, I don't want to just say it's over and over again. She was the one who really encouraged me to go and do it. She goes, I think you can do it. And so I sat down with a guy named Clayton King. I don't know if you know Clayton or not, but he's a pastor at New Spring Church. That was my first interview, sitting across from him like we are here today. And he goes, so how long have you been doing this? And I go, you're my first interview. And he goes, are you kidding me? I go, no, I'm being for real, Clayton. You're my first interview here. And so I fell into it thinking I would do this for a certain period of time. And then I would go, man, I'm going to go back on staff at a local church because that's what I knew that I could do. And I'm going to do that. And now 2 years later, 100 and something, I think it's 160 different interviews.
160 interviews in 2 years. Wow.
It's been weird. And so I would say that if anyone's going to make a career change, that they do know about or they don't know about, maybe, that having your spouse to back you up in it, to go, hey, you can do this, is just huge. Because I just would not have gotten any of those had Tiffany not said, I think you can do it.
Well, speaking of Tiffany, tell us a little bit about your family.
Oh, man. We have one daughter. Her name is Zion. She's 5, but going on 15. So she makes life real fun. Every day. Fun. And so we love having a child, obviously. So Tim and I have been married 13 years. And I would say it has been one of those marriages where it has been fun, but there have been moments, though, where we've said, man, how do we make this not just fun, but meaningful too? And so she works in social work ministry, and that's what she's always done and loves it. And so she works for a group called Must Ministries, and that's a whole nother topic world altogether. But it's one of our, I would say, how she compliments me, and how I compliment her, is that we have said that, man, we're going to make this fun. It's kind of weird because even before we read your book, we knew it was going to be fun. And we've also said, hey, there are going to be moments that it may not be fun, but if we can get back to that, that's where we want to be.
Love that. And then we've got a big question we're going to ask you, but I'm going to ask you just some more questions before we dive into that.
Ask away.
So,
it's weird being on this side, so it's like, okay, what questions could Ted have for me?
So what do you guys do to keep it fun?
Oh, man. This 2-year period has been interesting just because you go from, man, hopefully we can talk real on this podcast.
Absolutely.
You go from knowing what your salary is going to be to the freelance world, and you start with one publication, and you stick with that one for a while, and others do come along. But there was that season of, okay, we have to trust God financially. And so it was one of those deals where, and I'm definitely going to talk to the couple that's out there that's going, who may think, we cannot afford to have fun. And you can. I mean, you really, really can. And so what we've decided to do, and it's gotten better now, but just like, a year ago, we decided, man, we're going to just get to venture out, and we live here in Atlanta, obviously, and do free stuff. So that is one way that we have fun. The other way we have fun, too, though, is I think a lot of people kind of run from this, is to be honest with one another. And so in that season of, we're in the freelance world now, free being the key word, we said to ourselves, okay, this is going to be a difficult season. And so, man, can we do it? And I would tell anyone that if you're not being honest, then you're not having fun. It may not seem like fun at the time.
Connect those two dots for me, honesty and fun.
Oh, man, it's usually not fun. We don't look at it as fun. But when we are honest and open with one another, it leads to freedom. And freedom always, if we'll allow it to, I just want to make those keywords, we'll allow it to, will lead to things being fun.
Oh, wow. That's strong.
And so, but there's got to be the honesty, and there's got to be the freedom to be honest. And so one of the things that Tiffany she's a counselor, so obviously I married a counselor. So this is great. And you will see why, but in this podcast. But what she has allowed me to do is to be open and honest, and to talk about, man, here are the real fears. And for that season, it was incredibly just fearful because I had never done it before, didn't know if I could do it. So that's another, I didn't, went to school for it, but I hadn't done it in 20 years. And so we didn't know how it would work out. But we were honest in going, if this doesn't work out, then how will it end? And what's the worst thing they could do? And the worst that we said, this is where, when you're being honest, you can joke about stuff too. The worst is maybe the homeless shelter. And so that was kind of, it didn't end up like
which
that.
is the world she works in to a degree, right?
Works in, so we get free housing maybe and all this. But the worst, we did play out what is the worst.
Yeah, let's take it all the way to the end.
In this case. And the worst has not happened, thank God. But it is one of those things where when we were honest about where we were at, man, it's weird how freedom just walks in the door. Which when there's freedom, you can have that conversation of, now, how do we get back to things being fun?
I love that.
And when there's freedom, worry, I think, falls off to a large degree. And I also say this, that grace walks in too in that season. So it was one of those, I look back at all this and I go, what a lot of fun this has been. And in the 160 people that we've interviewed, and I say we, just because she's really
100%
behind it, you meet people who are fun. And you meet people who you never would have thought that you would actually meet.
I love that. So what are some free, fun things that people can do if they're going, we need to have some fun. We don't have any funds. So
yes, I would say look around you.
Okay.
Because there's always stuff around you. We're in Kennesaw. And so, like, for example, Monday nights in Kennesaw, there's like the whole food truck deal. And so, which is, most food trucks are expensive. So the fun thing there is you find the least expensive food truck.
There you go. It's a game at that point.
So it's kind of a game at that point. And so we involve Zion in that now, but not at first. But that's number one. I'd say number two, though, is, man, if you're in any city, there are going to be things. If you go online and look and go, okay, what are things going on? Right. And so, for example, the aquarium that's here in Atlanta, man, they were offering like a free day for, I think it was your birthday or something like that. So we checked that out, basically. And there's lots of parks, of course, in the area as well. Thankfully, we have bicycles also that we actually use too. I think there's nothing wrong with spending money on having fun. So I want to make that clear.
Sure.
But I do think, man, some of the funnest things that you can do, or the coolest things you can do, are things that are free.
I love that. I love that. We had friends who say that their fun has come from brown signs that point to, that point to parks.
Right.
They go, if you just follow the brown signs, you're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be pretty there. It's gonna be free. So getting creative.
Getting creative and just looking around you and going, man, what can we do that we wouldn't normally do, and we had the funds to actually do them? Right. And that's how we just embraced it. But at the same time, I still in one time you can still have fun even at home.
Right.
And I think too often we go, I got to go out somewhere and do whatever it is. Man, some of the cool things we've done have been at home.
I love that. How do you guys, when times are serious, how do you keep the fun going?
Oh man, that's one of those questions I do not want to answer this. When times are serious, I go back to the honesty piece to go, okay, here's where we're at. The honesty piece of this is, man, we're in a season that we've never been in before. Gotcha. And so it wasn't one of those kind of things where we were used to, being in this freelance world. And so I think if you're going to be honest and if you're going to be serious, one of the things that we do is, man, we take out a sheet of paper and we go, okay, here's the concerns. Here's where we're at. Here's how, man, we think these things could end, but, more than likely they probably will not end that way. But here's where it could play out. Man, is there anything that we can do differently to help us overcome whatever it is? And when, like, for example, with this new field that we're in now, I'll never forget going, okay, what could we do differently in this? And one of the things I would say this to any entrepreneur or anybody who's starting out is I took a list and just said, okay, what are some things that I can do to help offset where we think things are going to end financially? And what's been amazing to me on this one? I'll write a list, let's say, of 10 things. Most of those things I don't end up doing. But what does happen, though, is when I start asking questions about those things, other things open up.
Gotcha.
And so we would also say, and Tim and I discussed this a couple of days ago, that if you want to have fun, and if you want to have I would say if you want to have a marriage that you are pleased with and that God is pleased with, it literally is saying to yourself, is there any pride at all in any of these cases, any of these situations? And if there is, then we need to start with that first.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Because there was pride in that. Let's just be honest. Especially as a man, sure. Our major pride is that we are the provider. So I had to learn that God is the provider. That He allows me to bring resources to my family, but He's the ultimate provider, though.
Maya, that's great stuff. So, when I ask you, what's the one topic that you want us to talk about? Because you and I have been together several times now, and we're a little bit dangerous. We're all over the place, man.
Yes.
We're just so excited, and we could do this and this and this and this. We get so excited about that. But when I asked you about this, when I said, what's the topic? You came back with, because our topics are always, hey, here's a question that somebody may have. And your question was, how do you stay connected with your spouse during a tough season? And I know you guys have gone through some really tough seasons. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah. And this one, and I want to just tell the audience on this one, I know how difficult it can be to be in a tough season. Because one of the things that you need to bring to the table is being vulnerable. And no one likes being vulnerable, even in good seasons.
Especially men. Right?
Especially men. And so one of the seasons that was just the toughest for us was almost 9 summers ago. In youth ministry, I was speaking at a camp, West Virginia. I'll never forget it. We were preparing to have our firstborn, our son at that time. And life was great. We were preparing the room, preparing life. And so my wife at that time was 5.5 months pregnant. And I thought, okay, man, we're nearing, I would say, the safe spot is what they tell you. And so I was away for the week. And I remember getting that phone call on a Tuesday afternoon. I was speaking at this camp. And one of my wife called first to go, hey, I'm going to the doctor. They've told me I need to go to the hospital to check on some stuff, but everything's fine. And so you get that first phone call and you're going, I don't think everything's fine, but you're hoping that it is, though. And so an hour later, on a Tuesday afternoon, I get another phone call from a great godly friend of ours who had me with my wife that day, just saying, hey, you need to come home. And I remember thinking, I was driving from West Virginia to, we're living in Maryland at the time. And I was going through through the mountains to get back to civilization, as we want to call it. I'll never forget thinking, man, is God there? And I don't mean here with me in the car, but is he there where my wife is? And so I remember pulling into the hospital. My wife was 5.5 months pregnant. And I'll never forget the doctor and all the folks telling us, hey, you're not going to have this child. And so if anyone's ever been a part of a stillborn birth, it's one of those things, you still have the regular birth, like you are having what you and I would call a child. But I'll never forget, though, I remember my wife and all this going, we're going to get through this. And I remember thinking, man, I can't believe you're saying that, first of all, because, man, you're walking through this literally and physically. But on the other end, I'm going, man, we're going to get through it. And I'll never forget that night, delivering this little boy that we were not going to take home with us. And it was one of those experiences, you go from joyous time to we're planning a funeral service for this kid and for our son, and it was heart-wrenching.
Sure.
I would tell anyone, man, if you will just communicate even the things that you think your spouse does not want to hear in these tough seasons, it will carry you a long way.
Give me an example of that.
Oh, for example, I'll never forget, we're leaving the hospital, and I just looked at Tiffany and I said, I'm angry. Like, I'm really mad at God on this one. Man, I thought that we were going to have this child, and this is not okay. And it was one of those deals where if you can talk it out, then it will really solve a lot of problems long term. I'm not saying it solves your problems, every one of our problems, but it does help you to know that, man, she knew how I was feeling. I knew how she was feeling. Right. And so we never hit any of those things. I look back at that season and I go, I believe the reason why we could see the season that we were in a year and a half ago was because we got through that one.
Wow.
And so it's one of those things where I think you do get to know your spouse more than ever before that you've ever known during those seasons as well. And so we went through the memorial service and we said, man, we do not want to be here. That's one of those other ones that we just said, I would rather be anywhere else but here. And I'll never forget my wife going, where would you want to be if it was anywhere else but here? Yeah. And it's one of those things where we would just go with that conversation. So we didn't run from it. And I would tell anyone this too, and I know it's different for each individual, but counseling, man, needs to be a part of the plan.
Amen.
And so in tough seasons, even when you think, I don't know if we can afford a professional counselor, find one as closest to it as you can. And so, thankfully we were able to. And we just sat in front of a counselor for many weeks and asking the hard questions of, why did God do this to us? Are we going to get through this? Because oftentimes when there is these type of issues, couples tend to either, talk it out, or they go very inward. And a lot of bitterness and issues can just, I would say, seep in. We just decided, we're going to sit in front of a counselor every week because for this season, we are hurting. And so we did not hide that fact that we felt that we had been hit hard. And there were a couple of weeks where we just decided, I don't know if I want to talk about this anymore. And we gave each other the space to either talk about it or to not talk about it. So I would say, I think there are three things that you didn't ask me to go into all this, but I would say number one is giving your spouse the opportunity to be honest. I go back to that one over and over again. And number two, being real about it, being real about the hurt. And I would say when it comes to pregnancy, that doesn't seem to, that, whether the child passes away or doesn't work out or a miscarriage, that being open to the new opportunities. I don't say this for everyone because, everyone's different, everyone's story is different, but there are so many other opportunities when things don't tend to work out like we think they should. And so we began with the proper counseling going, okay, what are the opportunities for what's next? And that's where the fun piece comes into place, because when you can get through and talk through and work through the hurt and the pain, there's always opportunities on the other side. And we tend to not want to go to the opportunities just because we go, well, I'm in the middle of this right now, and it was a very real right now. But when we got to the opportunity part, that's when we said, okay, there is adoption, which is phenomenal. I think if God's called you to do it, you should run to that. So there's adoption. There is foster care that we can think about and pray about too. Nothing's wrong with either one of those. Those are great plans. And so for us, those are opportunities that we thought we were gonna have. And so we start working our way toward those opportunities. And with proper counseling, once again, because I would tell anyone, don't rush into, if you're going through anything that's been traumatic or hard, do not rush into anything new opportunity-wise. So you work through the hurt and the pain and just being let down. I remember my wife saying to me at one point in this, she goes, I feel let down by God. I know he's real, Maina, but I feel very let down. Like, why would he do this to us? And that's a fair question,
absolutely,
to definitely ask. But when we work through the opportunities, though, and we saw adoption and foster care, God had another plan, and here comes little Zion, and all of that. But we did not close ourselves off to people either. It's what we tend to want to do. And so we were in a great small group at our church at the time, and a small group leader said, hey, you do not have to come, and we totally understand if you don't want to come. And I remember my wife looking at me and going, why would we stop going? Man, we're going to continue this. And we didn't know this at the time, but I do think had we decided, we're going to stop and not do this, and each couple is different, I don't know if we would have gone back. And so for us, community helped us get through it.
That's huge.
And that was huge for us.
That's huge. And we've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast, how, it's we're living differently than before. People used to live in the village they grew up in, right?
Yes.
So they were surrounded by, aunts, uncles, friends, and so they're surrounded by community. Now that we're so mobile in different situations, we're living in communities of two.
Yes.
A lot of times. And so I don't think we're designed to live in communities of two, especially during times like this. So it's so huge to let people in at the times you really maybe even don't want to. Sound like you guys were open to this, but I know we've probably got some people listening going, I just tend to hibernate. And again, to each his own. But at the end of the day, there's a common principle for all of us that we can't shut the body of people out.
No, and I would say I was more of the, well, can we not do this? I was more of the, I just don't want to deal with people. Part of my ministry assignment at the time was dealing with lots of people. I just did not want to deal because there comes the, well, what happened? What are you guys going to do now? And people are not trying to be insensitive, but that opens itself up to it when you're walking in these seasons. And so my wife was one who said, we've got to keep going back to this.
Talk to somebody who they've not experienced this, but they have someone in their life that's just experienced this.
Yeah.
What are some of the do's and don'ts? What are some maybe there's some things don't say this, and what's the do's and don'ts?
I would say we used to tell people don't be like Job's friends in the Bible, obviously, who just remained silent. It's okay to remain silent. It's okay to say, I don't know what to say in this. Because what tends to happen after that is the person tends to go ahead and open up. They tend to let you know, well, hey, here's how we really feel about this. So it's okay to be silent. It's okay to go, man, I'm here just to grieve with you. That is That is A-okay. What's not okay is to add words like, man, God took your child for another angel in heaven. I remember someone telling us that and going, don't they have enough angels in heaven?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one. They were being
Right.
sincere about it, but that was not helpful at the time.
No.
Or, man, do you feel like you could have done something differently? And that's one of those things where people are trying to find answers to fill in a very horrible experience that, honestly, it's okay to go, I don't know. And I remember we have a great friend of ours, and Kenneth is this guy's name, and he said, you know what, Maina, if I say something stupid in all of this, man, please give me a little bit of grace on this one. He goes, because I'm hurting with you on this one, and I just want to fix it. And that was kind of one of the best things ever, to go, I want to fix this, and because I'm human, because we're all human, I could say something that may come across stupid.
Good for him.
And I think that was the best thing that he could have said during that time. And he didn't say anything stupid during that time, by the way. But it's one of those things where we are human. And so it's okay to remain silent. It's okay to go, I'm here to grieve with you. It's okay to go ahead and even step in and fill in the blanks for people's lives. One of the things that we all tend to ask, and we're being helpful, is, man, let me know if there's anything that I can do. Well, if you see something, go ahead and do it.
Right.
I mean, go ahead and jump right to it.
Yep. Because people, even during times of grief, they don't come up with creative ideas. Hey, go to the grocery store for me. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. And people mean well. Tell them, if there's anything I can do, let me know. But I think you're 100% right. See a need, fill a need, right?
Go ahead and fill it. And I would also say, once again, man, surround yourself with community. Do not unattach yourself and go, hey, I want to go do my own thing. I do think when we do that, and there are some moments of silence that you may want to get away, so you should be okay with that. But when we go off and do our own thing, I think we are, in my opinion on this one, setting ourselves up for some major problems. And so it's okay to go, man, I'm going to go closer to people, because these are the folks who you've done life with before. So they're going to walk you through it now. And our family did not live in Maryland. They were all back here in the South. And so for us, I remember Infinity Church in Laurel, Maryland, that's what got us through.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit. I know you guys, you're married to a counselor, so I'm sure she helps you to keep communicating.
I feel sorry for her. Big time.
But she's bringing some healthy skills and tools that most couples don't have. So, in the past, when, we've studied about this dynamic of losing a child before it's born, and what women and men typically go through two very different emotions.
Yeah.
Someone says a woman becomes a mother the moment she finds out she's pregnant, and a man becomes a father the moment he holds the baby. And that there's different dynamics. Did you guys find that to be true, or did she kind of school you on all that, and so you were kind of ahead of the game?
I found it to be very true. And so it's weird, even with a stillborn death, unfortunately, it became real for me once we did hold them. And I think it's so true that we don't see it until we don't become fathers, so we actually see it. For her, it's like you just said, it became real day one. And so that did happen. And so it was one of those things where, thankfully, with the right counselor, by the way, they helped me understand to put myself in Tiffany's shoes. Which is not that I can own her shoes, but to actually be able to go, okay, here is what she must be feeling. And oftentimes we tend to neglect the husband role side of it, where it's like, okay, man, and it needs to be about the wife. Don't get me wrong, but men do hurt too in all of this.
Yep.
And that's one of those things that we don't talk a lot about, but men are also very, also, I would say that I was definitely walking through the pain also.
Sure.
And we tend to go, well, it's just the wife, which I get it, but it's both. It's not just the wife, it's the husband and the wife too.
It is both. And when you see husbands are trying to be strong.
Yes.
And if what research is showing is true, they see their husband being strong and they want to see their husband devastated as they are.
Right.
I want you to be sad. We had one couple in our life, they went through this, and after this happened, he started remodeling the bathroom. He started knocking down walls. And she's like, how can you care about a bathroom when we've gone through this? And after counseling, the counselor said that he is processing differently. He's still trying to remain strong, and this is just how he's getting out his grief. But men and women see this as two totally different things, right?
We do. And one of the biggest mistakes I think I made, and my wife would not say this, but I would say this, I went back to work like 5 days later. And so that happened, and I was back in the office the next week. And I would tell anyone, do not do that. It is okay to go, we're in a season of grief. We are never going to get back to the normal that we knew. And that's hard because you do tend to think, well, we can just get back to normal. And as men, we tend to think, I can just work my way back to normal. There is no working your way back to normal that you knew.
That's so true.
There is a new normal here. And that's okay.
And that's probably hard for Tiffany to go, how in the world could you go back to work?
Yeah. I mean, she was going, I understand he's grieving differently because she's a counselor. But also, she gave me that grace, thank God. Yeah. But I look back at it now and I go, that was dumb. Like, why did I go back to work? I can remember being on the job for a day, just going, I can't do this.
Not ready.
This is not. I mean, I remember getting through. Maybe it wasn't even a day. Looking back through it, Ted, it was maybe an hour. And going, okay, I am not emotionally healthy to be here today, and so I need to go back home. And thankfully, I had a great boss who I was working with who said, hey, if this doesn't work out today, he must have known this is not going to work out today. This does not work out today. It's okay that we don't see you for a couple of weeks.
And that's another part of that community, right? Like that you allowed even your boss to be part of your community, because a lot of times bosses don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
You know, I remember him coming in, sitting down in the chair there going, you probably won't be here for the rest of the day. And so if this doesn't work out, it's okay to go ahead and leave. And I'm thankful for that freedom.
So the counselor kind of helped you guys process to see how each of you were grieving differently. A lot of people that are listening, unfortunately, will go, "We're not going to do a counselor.
Yeah,
we're not going to do it." But what would you say to them? What's the second best to a counselor? Is it a couple that's been through it? Like, what would you say?
I would say, you know, if you're in a situation where you cannot go to a counselor because healthcare reasons, insurance reasons, or financially you just can't afford, I totally get it and I sympathize with it. The next best thing would be to find a couple that has gone through it. And let's say that's not there, man, I would say, man, please find a pastor that can walk you through it.
That's good.
Do not walk through this alone, though. And so I do think, once again, counseling is the best thing, but, you know, everyone's different how they, you know, feel about that. If that doesn't work out, please find a couple or a friend who has walked through it. And I'd say, even with counseling, do all three.
Yeah.
You know,
all the community you can around you.
Yeah. Because it's not about getting through it fast. That should not be the goal of how can I get through this, you know, in 30 days.
That's good.
Because once again, the normal that you thought is no longer there.
Right.
And that's part of the whole grieving, you know, that's how the grieving process. At the same time, when we try to rush through things, we always find ourselves right back where we started. And so don't rush it through. Everyone works differently in how they grieve and don't grieve. But, man, go at it at a very slow pace.
That's good. You know, I've been told by other people in the situation is a lot of times when someone loses a child during pregnancy, people don't see it, outside people don't see it as much as, hey, this person's lost a child.
Yeah.
They see it as some kind of medical condition or something. Wait a minute, this is our child. And that's something I feel like even as a church, and sometimes it's just as people, we have not created a world. Like you guys said, you had a funeral, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But it's your child. And so I think people need to remember that, don't you think?
I do. And I think even with miscarriage, it's still that person's child.
Yes.
And so it's not just this is a medical issue that didn't work out.
Right.
No, it's their child. And it's also a loss of what they thought was going to happen. And that's probably the toughest piece of it for a lot of people, of going, okay, they can get through or understand, not really get, they can understand the death process of it. What they have the hardest time understanding is, man, this did not work out like I thought it would. And so it's the expectation that it's not going to end like you thought. I'll never forget even one part of this process we were at our home at that time. And it took us about a month to take down the room because we had set up this nursery room. And I remember just going, what are we going to do with all this stuff, and how are we going to get through all this? And once again, the expectation. And it's one of those deals, and I think we underestimate this also. When we're walking through this, man, God will always lead us to someone who needs what we have. And so during that process, another couple at our church that they were having a boy. And so I'll never forget Jeremy is the guy's name, going, we're not going to use this stuff anytime soon. So can you guys use it? And it's one of those deals where he said, are you sure? I didn't want to ask. I didn't know, because that goes on. And one of the best things was, man, taking that stuff over to their home and going, hey, this is yours. And when that boy, came and, to life, it was cool saying God does use some of these things. And at the same time, I do think if we will serve through the grieving period, man, we will find ourselves being way more thankful.
Wow.
And that's one thing I didn't want to do. I just got to be honest. But we plugged into, as an organization there in Laurel, Maryland, we plugged into, and we just said, man, we're gonna serve the homeless. We're gonna do this. I don't want to do it because the last thing you want to do is be around people again. But we decided to get back and serve also, and that led to the thankfulness piece. And of course, the verse in the scripture says, "The peace passes all understanding." Man, pray that verse through. Because there is a peace that just overcomes and overwhelms you, which you never thought you'd ever get. You never thought you'd have the courage to get. But man, God will give you the peace that you need. But I do think some of that comes through serving others.
Wow. Maina, this is so powerful.
No,
I
it's
could
one of
ask you a million more questions, but this is so powerful.
No, but it's weird, Ted, looking back at it. And before we started here, my wife's boss, Ike Reichert, really helped us get through it. And so it's one of those things where some of the stuff he gave me, he just said, hey, it's okay to talk this out. It's okay to be angry. But I remember him saying to us, man, God is going to come through. I didn't know what that meant at the time. So I would tell anyone who's maybe they're walking through it now, and God really will come through in the situation that you're in. And that may look differently than what you're thinking or feeling or what you're walking through, but he really will, though. And I know it's tough because we hear these things and we go, well, he didn't come through for me, and you fill in the blank. And the answer is no. I mean, the peace that passes all understanding.
Wow. So we always want to leave our listeners with something. Like we always say, we want to leave you one simple thing that anybody could do. So I want you to talk to two different groups about that. What's one simple thing if somebody they've just gone through this and their hearts are broken? What is one small thing that they could do that would head them towards, hope or help? And then talk to the rest of us who know that a friend that's gone through it. I mean, you've hit on those, but if you had to really hone it down right now, what would you do?
Don't lose heart. And it's easy to want to do that. And whether it's the loss of a baby in this situation or a job or whatever it is, don't lose heart. And so it's one of those things where, okay, how do we for us, not losing heart was, okay, we knew that God was going to give us a child. Now, how he's going to do that, we didn't know. And so whether that was through the foster care system or through adoption or natural birth, we knew that God was going to make a way. And so once we, work through the anger piece, because that's just part of it, don't lose heart.
Don't lose heart. So you're saying those are hurting today, going, don't lose heart.
Don't. And we tend to want to, just because things didn't work out like we thought it should.
Sure.
And so I get it. But it's one of those things, hold on to the promise of whatever the promise you think, God gave you, hold on to that promise.
Hold on to the promise.
And so for us, we just said, hey, it could be adoption. It could be the foster care system. And I'd say this too, usually I only ask for one, walk toward that promise. And so if for us, it was, we knew that God was going to give us a child. Any way he would give us a child was going to be great. And so, man, we dug into adoption. We dug into the foster care system, just knowing, okay, what is this all about? And so, because we thought that was it and that would have been fine. And we wanted one day to be it, by the way, because we still do want to adopt. But we're like, we're gonna walk towards that. And God, of course, has a funny sense of humor, obviously. And he gave us a little girl. But don't lose heart and walk towards it. And so
when you're ready, walk towards
when
that.
you're ready, walk towards it. And for everyone, it's different. And so it may be, I don't know what your timetable may be, but whatever that timetable is, this is why I think counseling and going and being around your community of people will help you understand when that timeline should be. Keep walking towards it. Don't lose heart at all. And that's the toughest piece because you want to.
Sure.
And there are some days it's okay to feel that way, like you are losing heart some days.
So what about for those of us who maybe have a friend or a family member? What do you say to us?
Man, this is tough because we want to fix things, especially as guys.
It
and
is.
So when
Yeah.
we see stuff, we want to go, man, I want to fix this because this needs to be fixed. And so it's kind of how we are. This is going to sound really simple. Just be there.
It's so good. Yep. Just be there.
Yeah, and that may be different for each person. It may be, and nothing's wrong with this, it may be, hey, being there by helping them do the lawn or going to the grocery store, or it could be, I hope this will be throughout all of it, is definitely praying for that person. Even now, we were working in youth ministry world during that time, so I was on a denominational staff. I still have these cards. I've not gotten rid of them in all these years. A youth group I was working with, they mailed us about 40 different cards. Wow. And I still had those cards. I was walking through them about a year or so ago when we were moving here. And I thought, man, I wonder where some of these kids are at now. And, it's kind of one of those like, man, these cards got us through. And so don't underestimate the little things.
Oh, that's powerful. So powerful. Maina.
No, but
Thank you.
I enjoyed it. It's one of those deals where I just want to say this to every close out, you will get through it.
You will get through it.
You really will. And it's tough. It's one of the toughest seasons that you may walk through. But I will tell you what comes on the other side of that, though is we look back now and we go, okay, we walked through the toughest. So anything else that comes our way,
Yeah.
we've been through it. I was interviewing Rick and Kay Warren recently, and they both said, we got through the worst day. And the worst day has already happened. And that is true. That is one of the hopes you can have is, and the worst day happened, and we survived it. And that's what's key, is that God really will see you through.
I love that. So we're there for each other. We're letting everybody experience different emotions, but not isolating and not and just keep processing, right?
Yeah, keep right. And that's a communication piece that when couples are walking through this stuff, man, keep talking. Do not, and the tendency is I want to get quiet.
Right.
Because we want to grieve inwardly and just to ourselves. Man, you both are walking through this together. And so, and my wife is great about this. We kept saying ourselves over and over again, and we both lost this child. It wasn't just Tiffany or just me. We both lost it. And so, man, we kept talking through it together. So through the pain, the anger, the misunderstandings, even because those come up and all of this too, but keep talking through it.
Keep talking.
Oh my gosh, keep talking through it. Because you'll find out when you're talking through it, that's where the opportunities start to come up, by the way.
Well, I know we have a lot of female listeners here who are saying, my husband won't talk about it with me, but I know it may be some comfort for them to know your husband's hurting.
Yeah.
It's weird to know he's hurting, but it is to know you're not alone. He's hurting. He just doesn't know how to process as well as you.
Yeah, and it's the loss of the expectation was going to happen.
Yeah.
That's the toughest piece of it is that whatever you had in your mind that you thought was going to happen, you're dying to that too. And so for a lot of dads who are walking through this, I found this out, later, that they're walking through I thought we were going to play football together. I thought we were going to do these things together. Yeah. And the expectation is meeting the reality. That's not going to happen.
It's hard for him. He just processes differently.
It is. And men tend to, we tend to shut down anyway, just because it's kind of how we just are usually, not all of us, but a lot of us anyway. And so the tendency is to want to do that. So this is why I do think even if they won't go, you still go. The counseling piece and talking to someone who's been through it, or a pastor, it holds accountability for that person to start talking.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does, because you can't get to a counselor office and go, I'm not going to talk about this. So it's holding them accountable to keep talking.
That's great. That's great. Maina, thank you so much.
Man,
I know this is such a tough topic, but I appreciate you being so real about it. And I know that that there's been somebody that's listened to this and it's just what their soul needed. So thank you for being willing
anytime.
to do it.
I actually enjoyed all this, man. I got to come back again sometime here to your nice studio here.
Well, then you can come back we'll have you back next time you give me the 10 fun free ideas of a great marriage. How about that?
I'm going to charge on those though. So yes, they won't be free.
I like it. $20
for an idea. $20 for these ideas
I love
I'm giving to you.
I love it.
But yeah, thanks
sir.
a lot, man.
Well, we want to thank Maina for coming on to the Married People podcast and sharing his story. What a great and encouraging conversation between Ted and Maina. If you'd like to learn more about Maina and the work that he's doing, you can visit his website, mainaspeaks.com, or visit our show notes at marriedpeople.org/podcast. And if you found today's episode helpful, we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast through your podcast app. And finally, if another couple came to mind as you were listening to today's conversation between Ted and Maina, consider sharing this podcast with them. And the easiest way to do that is to send them to our website, marriedpeople.org. Until next time, I'm CJ, and thanks for listening.